On today's episode, I want to run through some of the kind of winners and losers from OTAs. Now, don't read into the word winners or losers too much. I think this is just a fun way to kind of package what we've learned so far from organized team activities in a much more digestible way of who's standing out in a good way and maybe who's not standing out as much as we would like. So, with that being said, our first winner for today's episode is Kirk Cousins, because despite coming off a torn Achilles, he has been at OTAs. He has been, participating in what looks to be like a full level with great zip and velocity on his passes. All of the reports unanimously coming out of OTAs so far is Kirk Cousins has looked very sharp. Kirk Cousins has looked like a guy that was worth a $180 million contract. Kirk Cousins, point blank, has looked like the quarterback who has been really dominant the last couple of seasons. So, zero signs of, Cousins looking a bit rusty, or, man, maybe not having the same type of pep in his step pre-injury, or Cousins kind of getting fatigued a little bit as he gets up there in the age column. None of that. Kirk Cousins has looked the part, and I know that there will probably be a story or two that comes out from the media that's not really focused on Atlanta very closely that goes, could Michael Penix push Kirk Cousins for the starting job in his rookie season? No, not because Penix has been bad, but because Kirk Cousins has looked like what you'd expect Kirk Cousins to look like. So if you haven't been paying very close attention to OTAs so far and you've been on the Braves trail, let me just save you the time and tell you, Kirk Cousins has looked very, very good. Kirk Cousins also spoke about his injury rehab recently, saying, the Achilles is coming along well. They told me when I did it, they said it'd be 9 months, which will take me to August 1st. I'm still kind of trying to close that gap there and get the final strength and mobility back, but we're making progress every day. So by, I would say, all accounts, Kirk Cousins very well on track, of course, to be the week 1 starter. I don't think that's in question, but to even sweeten the pot a little bit more, to be ready to roll for the first day of training camp, and that's what matters most. Now, as for Michael Penix, just to kind of squeeze him into this video, he has had some really good moments and some not so good moments. Nothing to panic about, nothing to be up in arms over. He has looked like a rookie quarterback. We saw 6 quarterbacks go in the first round of the NFL draft. All 6 rookie quarterbacks have had rookie quarterback moments so far in OTAs. Caleb Williams and the Bears, the first OTA session they had open to the media was not a good one for Caleb Williams. Like, nothing to panic over, nothing to freak out about. But yeah, Penix had some really nice passes showing off his arm strength and some other passes that were underthrown and not on the mark. So there's going to be ups and downs to it, but that's kind of the report so far from the quarterback standpoint of OTAs. Now, random kind of question I want to ask everyone right now. Is Kirk Cousins a top 10 quarterback? You know you've reached peak offseason boredom when sports talk radio starts to do top 10 blank list for players and people get super passionate about it. So let me know. Do you think Cousins is a top 10 quarterback? I do. I don't think it's by a whole lot. I think he's right there at that 8, 9, 10 range. But you look at his stats over the last 4 seasons, he looks like a top 10 quarterback in my eyes. First loser from OTAs, injuries. Unfortunately, the Falcons have had a couple of bumps and bruises so far in the third phase of the offseason workouts. Bijan Robinson, he has been sidelined through OTAs for the most part due to an ankle injury, although Raheem Morris said he expects Bijan to be ready for mandatory minicamp in June. Rondale Moore had some hamstring injuries pop up. He was available for a portion of OTAs and then not available later on. Remember, the media does not get accessibility to every single practice, so the injury reports can be very fluid from day to day. Grady Jarrett still working his way back from the torn ACL. AJ Terrell had a hamstring injury pop up, and it just precautionary measure kind of took him out of OTAs, but nothing to be concerned about. All I care about is health in September, and so far, no one has shown any great risk of not being healthy when the season gets underway. So we'll have a much better idea when mandatory minicamp ends in the middle portion of June as to where players are recovery and health-wise. We're going to look at my second winner in just a moment, but I've been very, infatuated with the subscriber battle we have going on with Saints Now, and we are only 4 subs behind Saints now. At one point, we trailed by, what was it a few weeks ago? Well over 100. And now the gap has shrunk to 4. So be the goal line push, get us over the edge, and help us take down Saints now in subscribers for the month of May. Second winner I've got is Kyle Pitts. If you have been very surface level in your OTAs, news searching and whatnot, you've probably seen his name pop up a little bit because the Kirk Cousins to Kyle Pitts connection, it's growing, it's developing, and the chemistry is taking off. Like every time I open up Twitter, there's a new video I feel like popping up of Kirk Cousins with a great pass to Kyle Pitts. And I'm very excited to see what this tandem can do in 2024 because there's no denying that Kyle Pitts physically is gifted enough to be an excellent tight end. The guy is, remember, 6'6", 245 pounds, and runs a 4.44 40-yard dash. He is built like a linebacker, a big linebacker too, but he runs faster than a lot of running backs. He is a unicorn for a very good reason, and we saw a lot of that in his rookie season. Then, unfortunately, a knee injury, 2/3 of the way through year number 2, knocked him out for the remainder of the year. But up until that point, we hadn't seen a lot to be super inspired about from Kyle Pitts' play. Last year, up and down at times, had some good games, had some games where he was kind of just doing cardio out there, it felt like. But remember, Kyle Pitts is a very, very special player. He went top 5 in the draft for a very good reason, I felt like. And it's not a make or break season for Pitts, but it's close to it because if things don't go well for Pitts this year, you know next offseason is going to be full of trade Kyle Pitts rumors because he's on the last year of his contract and Atlanta might try to get something for him now before they move on from him next year. So this is a really important season for Pitts to cement himself as I'm a tight end worthy of getting a second contract by the Falcons, and that's evident by my first year with actual good quarterback play from Kirk Cousins. So really excited to see where Cousins and Pitts kind of end up when it comes stats-wise at the end of the year. But I'll tell you right now, I am getting drunk on the Kyle Pitts Kool-Aid to the point of I'm already thinking about my fantasy football draft, and I know no one gives a shit about my fantasy football team. But if you did, I'm going to take Kyle Pitts probably, I don't know his ADP, but top 4 rounds. I'm going to go there. Top 5 rounds. Give myself a little bit of slack. We're going to look at my second loser in just a moment. But if you want to get yourself this Falcons t-shirt combo set, go to chatsports.com/Falcons combo. It's 25% off. These sales tend to come and go at Fanatics. So if you want to get your hands on not 1, but 2 Falcons t-shirts on sale, chatsports.com/Falcons combo. I put that link already in the comments and description of today's video. Second loser I've got bubble defensive tackles. I try to get creative with the losers because it's hard to be a real loser in a voluntary non-padded practice. But I'm bringing this up because it's my spin zone way of saying Eddie Goldman has kind of been a winner so far. Again, non-padded practices, those are difficult for linemen to prove their worth. But the 6'3", 330-plus nose tackle is back again. If you need a refresher on the Eddie Goldman timeline, he ended his time with the Bears following the 2021 season, signed with Atlanta in the March portion of 2022, retires shortly after, comes back last offseason, 2023, retires shortly after his return, 2 retirings, and he has made another return, but this time it feels a little bit more permanent than the previous 2. And maybe I'll jinx it, but by a lot of accounts, Eddie Goldman has looked the part of a guy that could be a really disruptive interior defensive lineman. And for not playing a lot of football the last 5 years, remember, he also did not play the 2020 COVID season. So 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, the last 4 years, he's only played 1 season, 2021. So for him to come back and stay in shape to the level he's at, really encouraging stuff for what he could be on this defensive line, because I don't think there's a starting role for Eddie Goldman, but I do think he could do a really nice job of backing up David Onyemata if Eddie Goldman is able to get back to what he was looking like before he stepped away from the game. I mean, look at his stats a little bit in a moment here of what he did in 2021, 2018, and whatnot. But you've got a really deep defensive line in terms of depth. You just need to see some of these guys pan out. But back to his 2017, 2018 days, I know those stats don't jump off the screen, but interior defensive linemen tend to do that. Their job is more about creating opportunities for other players on the defense. And Eddie Goldman did that in Chicago a lot. Like that 2018 Bears defense, right? Carried them to the playoffs against the Eagles. He was an instrumental part of that defense. Also, Onyemata comes off a season where he kind of battled, was a knee injury on and off in the middle of the season. He's up there in the age column, 30-plus years old. He played 63% of the snaps last year in games he was available for. That was a career-high snap percentage for him. So as he gets up in the age column, I think it's going to be advantageous for all parties, for Onyemata to have a reliable backup like Eddie Goldman, who can come in maybe on like a third down when they're not looking to get pass rushing help from Onyemata, and that can give him a breather for obvious rundowns like first and second down. Atlanta can get creative with it, but if they can get Goldman back to what he looked like with the Bears almost a decade ago, still, not quite that far long ago, that would be really nice for this defensive line that is lacking a lot of pass rush superpower. Next portion of the show, third winner, cornerback Clark Phillips, second-year man out of Utah. I've got him as my third and final winner because it appears to me that the cornerback 2 job opposite of AJ Terrell is Clark Phillips, and it's his job to lose. And I think he is skilled and good enough to hold on to that starting role. Last year, we saw him play towards the end of the season, replacing Jeff Okudah. But I go back to when he was at Utah. I was a huge fan of his coming out. The guy was an absolute takeaway machine. Finished with 9 career interceptions, physically gifted, not the biggest guy in the world. I think that's why he slipped in the draft a little bit to round number 4. But still, there's a lot to like about Phillips. Raheem Morris himself had this to say on the young corner. Really excited about Clark. He has had elite movement put on tape. I'm really excited about the young man and the player on what he potentially can do. So like I said, last year, the stats don't really jump out at you very much. He didn't play a whole lot up until the end of the year, just 27 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. I think that was in the Jets game, 5 pass breakups. So there was some good play from Phillips last year. It was up and down. Like, I don't think he was exceptional in the Saints game to end the year, but still, I think there's a lot of optimism and a lot of buzz surrounding the young corner. So what is your confidence level in Clark Phillips? I know we're kind of getting into the nitty-gritty and the weeds here of the CB2 job, but still, if Atlanta's not going to have a boatload of pass rushers, there may be a lot of plays where the quarterback has an extra half a second, full second in the pocket, and that means the DBs need to hold up in coverage a little bit longer. So Clark Phillips is in for a very important role this year if Atlanta's pass rush is unable to generate a lot of pressure quickly. All right, that will do it for us on this edition of Falcons Today. Really appreciate all of you guys for watching our show. If you enjoyed it, leave us a like. Really does go a long way. I know we hear that all the time, but would really, really appreciate it.